Hey, this is Matthew Beck with another update on my ostomy project. So I'm not going to go into too much detail of the beginnings of my process because I already made a video about that. You can find that in the description below, or you might have already watched it. But I will do a little recap about what the problem I identified, the solution that I made, and some of the inspiration that I started off with. Then I'm going to go into detail of all the ideas that I came up with, along with my final concept, which is what this presentation is all about. So an ostomy can come in many forms, but the main forms are ileostomies, colostomies, and urostomies. All of these are surgical procedures which help people defecate in different ways. Most of the time, people will have to wear one of these bags called an ostomy pouch, which attaches to their body directly to their intestinal system or to their urinary tract. These surgical procedures always make people depressed because they don't feel as independent. They're always worried that the bag is going to spill or leak of some sort, or maybe it'll fill up too much without access to a bathroom. The problem I've isolated is that there aren't really any products out there that help people with traveling, hiking, or any other kinds of adventuring. People are just expected to figure out their own emergency kits on their own. So the solution that I came up with was an emergency kit, which people could use to go on trips, traveling, hiking, adventuring, maybe even long drives. This was never meant to be an overnight kit, not something where people are going to use it every day or only going to use it whenever they go traveling, but this was more so meant to be kind of like a first aid kit. Like you wouldn't use it all the time, but it had everything that you need in an emergency situation. Another thing is that ostomy products are very sensitive to temperature, water, etc. So this needed to be waterproof and temperature controlled. I also wanted it to be intuitive, so including a guide to help people in emergency situations. In summary, I was looking for different organizational schemes along with different bags that could be used for traveling. And now for my ideas. So when we last talked, my general idea for this project was to create an emergency kit with a bunch of different little tools. I highlighted this expandable garbage bin that was made out of paper that would twist open and twist shut to make it more space saving. This would be organized in a way that every item or collection would have its own little compartment, and it would be part of a two-piece set. So there would be a cover or a case that would hold everything together, and then there would be little boxes on the inside. I tried to explore different forms and different shapes, but the only two shapes that kind of made sense to me were the squares and the hexagons. I then calculated how big it would be in its smallest form factor, and it was pretty small. Basically, this would just end up being a little kit that was pretty small and would fit in any backpack or bag. But I kind of wanted more for this kit. I wanted it to be transformable into a backpack, and this was just too small of a form factor for it to really make sense to be a backpack. Also, when I explored the hexagon shapes a little bit more, I kind of hit a dead end because squares were very universal. Most things came in a square form factor. Not many items came in hexagons. If I was to design this whole kit to be a hexagon, then every little thing would have to be designed as hexagons as well, including the barrier wipes, the sanitizers, adhesive removers, all those little things, just to make it more organized and fit within the shapes. I didn't really want people to have to go out and buy special fitting things just to fit inside this bag. So I stayed with the square form. Then I kind of thought about turtle shells. Those little hexagons on their shells, they kind of look like they can be pulled out. So I started thinking about that. What if these were kind of smaller little compartments that stuck onto a flat surface? Instead of having everything piled up, what if they were spread out evenly among a surface? So then I started thinking about what this could look like. Then I started to think about a folio shape. This then brought on a lot of different ideas of using existing backpack infrastructure like laptop pouches inside backpacks and designing these to fit inside laptop pouches. I also wanted this to still be modular and customizable, so I wanted to include kind of, if it was this big laptop shape, then maybe it could be folded in half if people wanted to still have it as like a smaller condensed kit. Okay, and now to add in a little bit of personality. So when I was starting to think about its personality and its branding, I started off with trying to generate a name. A lot of the names that I thought of didn't really work out really well. As I started to play with the word ostomy, I started to think of the word oma, omi. At first I wanted to name it Oma Omi, but Oma meant mom or grandmother in many other languages, which I found kind of interesting and kind of wanted to include it into my design, but I decided against it. I also thought about maybe giving it a character, calling it a carrier pigeon, but that didn't stick either. So I stuck with Omi. It had a good ring to it. It didn't really remind anybody of anything. It could be its own little thing. So I started thinking about who would use this and what they would be feeling whenever they needed to use it. So words came up like panic, stress, anxiety, depression, frustration, doubt, paranoia, concentration, adrenaline, jealousy, frozen, faint. Those were just the wide range of negative words I could think of to describe somebody in an emergency situation. So then I had to think of words that this design must be: relaxed, helpful, guided, concentrated, positive, but serious, straight to the point, informative. Then I narrowed down the list. So it needed to be guided, neutral, positive, informative, direct, and calm, but it shouldn't be stern, panic, or playful. I included playful as a negative because when you're in an emergency situation, you don't really want to have playful characters all over it. You just want to get the thing done without any distractions. So I started to explore different fonts. I also explored different body fonts just for the general text within it. I narrowed down to a couple different fonts, but I needed more constrictions. So I narrowed down also the personality down to just guided, informative, direct, without being stern or playful. I also explored different color schemes to go with this brand. At first it was logical for me to avoid reds, but then I started to play with reds and oranges to kind of bring on like a warm tone that was also kind of colorful without being too playful. And I narrowed down and vectorized some of my logos and tried to play with them as well. And then I narrowed down these different color schemes and down to two fonts being Azo Sans and Arial. I chose Arial because it is the most legible font. It is recommended even by the CNIB, Canadian National Institute for the Blind, for its high legibility. I want people to be able to read the text within this very easily and very quickly. And so here is kind of my final branding. So this is the final logo and the color schemes that I'm kind of following. On the left is the official brand and color scheme, followed quickly by color alternatives to be used in kind of more sporty, more expressive designs. And on the far right is for the more professional, toned down designs. So then I started to design the packaging for the boxes that sit within the kit. And here is a 3D rendering just of the kit and its basic layout. And here's a 3D rendering of the box setup and folded. So here's a mock-up of the layout for the kit. This mock-up is to scale, so this is how big the kit would be. Currently it's laid out in the open position, and it is 26.5 centimeters wide, 34.5 centimeters tall for each panel. You see in the middle is the spine of the case. On the right is the second panel, and on the left is the first panel. Now the first panel has 3 straps. Each strap is reinforced, and this is what the boxes will clip onto. The second panel will have a pouch, which the handbook will sit in. The second panel also has a slot to hold a temperature-sensitive card. This card will be used to identify whether the kit has gotten too hot or too cold. If it got too hot or too cold, the products inside may not be usable. I've created stencils to show what will go where. So in the first panel, it will have a water bottle. This water bottle will be for emergency situations in case you need to rinse something out or maybe you need to rehydrate. It will also hold 1 or 2 ostomy pouches and flange. Depending on the flange and ostomy bag you have, you can fit more or less. It will also have this pop-up bin, which will be used as kind of a garbage can in case you need to empty your pouch and don't have access to anywhere to empty it. There will also be a roll of garbage bags for you to empty your pouch into as well. The garbage bags can also be used to store any garbage that you might have. There's also space for various other supplies, such as wet wipes, sanitizer, various creams, powders, barrier rings, adhesive removers, kind of everything you would need, but you would need to have it in little packets or a little container that can fit inside. There's also room for a pair of scissors and a mirror. And on the right will be the handbook, which would also have many other materials on the inside. To go into further detail, I had different ideas for the handbook, which the paper would be made out of super absorbent paper. So in case you run out of tissues or maybe you didn't pack any or something bad happens, you could always use the pages from the handbook to help clean up. The handbook will also have additional supplies such as sanitizing wipes, an extra pop-up bin or two, string, and a plastic bag. My general idea for this bin was to also be able to reorganize it, so the middle slot that can be used as extra storage could also be removed or just not filled up, and you would be able to fold up your kit so that you can fit it into your backpack or your bag. The other idea is that the bag is reversible. The straps on the first panel on the left, that panel will have straps on both sides of the bag. So the straps you could also hook on various other things like converting it into a backpack, converting it into a satchel. Maybe you could clip on extra little bags to expand the bag into a backpack. Same thing for the second panel. The pocket that's there will have an identical pocket on the other side where you can store your phone, maybe some food, your water bottle. Yeah, the possibilities are endless, and I will still continue designing this further just to finalize everything. All right, thanks for watching. And if you have any comments, you can leave them below. I still have a final presentation to do in 2 weeks, so I guess we'll see you then. Thanks. Bye.